All right, so let's start. We have about 10 online. It's our mistake that we shared a Zoom link last night, so somewhere decided to stay back. Anyway, let's start. So thank you for joining. This is the second AIFA. That's how we pronounce it. I don't know what's the best way to pronounce it. Artificial Intelligence Forum for Academics. Forum, the second meeting. And today we'll start with the keynote. The keynote is going to be on generative AI, revolutionizing education with a trusted ally. So in fact, the one who is going to talk about it is Shamane Siriwardhana. He is one of Sierra year's graduate. He did bachelor's here. And then he went and did his master's and PhD at University of Auckland. And he is now working from there, settled down in New Zealand, don't want to come back to Sri Lanka. And working for a US company, they are working on AI. The company is in headquarters in New York, and he's working from Auckland. So he has done for his PhD a lot of work related to things like this NL, natural language processing, large language models, things like what we are talking about, ChatGPT's backend and things like that. So maybe it's also new to him to talk about education, but he took the challenge and he said he'll tell us a bit what he thinks, how generative AI can be used in education. Right, so it's just his thoughts from an AI expert onto education. Don't be hard on him, right? So, but at the same time, he will give his insight into the AI side of it, particularly generative AI. So with that, I'll let Shamane to start. Thank you. And
all right, let me share my screen first.
Yep.
Oh, can you guys see the screen?
Yes. Yeah, we can see.
Yeah. So yeah, first of all, thanks a lot for the amazing introduction, and yeah, it's always good to be back to roots, at least virtually. So yeah, I would love to come to Sri Lanka, maybe in a couple of years, I don't know. So yeah, I'll start this. So I'm not going to go with very core tech details or anything. This is more like, as the professor mentioned, this is more of a new thing to me as well, and this is more like trying to understand the concept, and then trying to share my opinion on this, and then I will also show you guys some examples how I use GenAI, especially for my work stuff and all. And most of these images I have used in this presentation are from Google, and I didn't cite any of them, so cut me some slack, please. Let me start the presentation. So GenAI, revolutionizing education with a trusted ally. So so first let's kind of try to define what is GenAI. So GenAI is a type of artificial intelligence that can create new data, such as images, audio, and text. So new data means there's no set of fixed rules, like that's how we had systems before, like so bunch of human creators used to define those rules, and then once you use these kind of solutions, they would give you give you an output based on those rules, right? But in this era, it's not like that. So even the creators don't know what these models might generate or produce. So that's the big thing. So that's like you can't, that's like they have a lot of knowledge, and they got trained in a way like they can automatically use these available knowledge in the internet or anywhere else, and everything is squashed. And now when you work with them, they kind of can produce things like they have this creativity aspect, right? So that's pretty much the layman way of explaining generative AI, at least for me. So um, then let's talk a bit about the history of artificial intelligence and Gen AI. So the first thing is AI is not a new thing. It goes back to, I guess, like even 1940s, but let's start in 1970s. Like we had a lot of solutions before as well, and a lot of companies, a lot of researchers, even these research institutes, they worked a lot on this exact field. So then the big question is why Gen AI is such a big thing right now. It's because previously these AI solutions, they were kind of bit mechanical, I would say. Like we were using AI to predict sentiments, we were using AI to kind of create recommendation systems, what kind of movie you would like to watch, or what you might gonna buy next in your shopping cart, something like that. But that's not something we like as humans we were good at anyways, right? So anyway, like going back to the history as well, like we had to use some sort of systems. But I would say everything changed after 2020, because people came up with this idea, or we kind of can create this generative AI that can generate stuff given an input. And so then what happened was, like, everyone started to use this technology, like it became such a huge thing. So like we I mean, even for most of PhDs in NLP, like if you ask, like, have you ever thought ChatGPT would create this kind of a of a discussion around the world? No one would say yes, because I actually thought this would happen in 2050 or something. But oh my man, like it's like within last year December, people were like, oh my god, like even for me, this was like pretty big. But the amazing thing is, like, technology was being developing like for some time, and we have a very stable research community around this. So most of these outcomes are not just like out of nowhere, so the like, if I want to put this in a different way, so what happened was, like, this entire area of large language modeling research got scaled up. People started to put millions and billions of dollars. So then they kind of produce this kind of a thing. So that's the main idea. This is why Gen AI is like the most disruptive thing. And then if someone asks why Gen AI, why not other AI? So this is like so this is the main thing. Like, Gen AI can automate tasks that were once done by human, right? For ages we never thought machines would be better in generating music or generating art or like writing. But now machines can actually challenge, and I personally believe machines would take over art and music, even writing, like within next couple of months. And almost all these like practitioners will have to adapt AI, otherwise it would be really hard for them to kind of survive. Like, for example, if you guys have heard of David Guetta, like he's like one of the topmost house artists in the world, a DJ. So I kind of so his new track has been kind of modified with AI by himself. So these people are applying AI and kind of already producing music. And we all know about art, like yes, like it's a big thing with things like stable diffusion and all. So this is actually an AI generated art. So it's just like so next level, and then the writing part, or like information retrieval, or understanding part. So this is the most most close thing for me. Like So especially like when PhDs are joining industry, one advantage they have is ability to write. So especially when it comes to reports and all, so yeah, we are good at that, right? Because we had to write a lot. But now believe me, like it's not even a skill in the industry, because I haven't written my own stuff since last December, I have to be honest, because the amount of time I can save is enormous. So it's more like how I can say. So I kind of put my ideas to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can always, like align them in a way which is like much more presentable. So that's the impact. So then the other big thing you need to understand is there's a huge competition between these tech giants, and because of that we will see a lot of disruptive work within next few years, because everyone wants to be the giant in this, because arguably some people believe this is like the fourth industrial revolution. That means everything will change, not just the tech field, everything, like how we manage things, how we provide services, even healthcare, even things like law. Like this is a model called Llama, which got open sourced by Meta like a couple of weeks ago. This is a big step uh, for the tech world, and for me, like for the entire world, because this is the first model that got open sourced to the public. Public means we literally can work with this model by downloading this stuff uh, to the like this. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah. So, yeah, like I was talking about this Llama model. So, this model, they say like it's like they have spent like $12 million. This is not about employment cost or anything. This is about like how much they have spent on infrastructure, and we call like a term like training these models. So imagine like they want to put $12 million thing just for the public, like for us, we can freely use it, and even we can build our own commercial applications. They're not doing this because they have an enormous love towards the public or something. It's just like they want everyone to get centralized with this, so it's easier for these big companies to then build their own technology. That's what is happening. So yeah, so like to wrap up to now, like idea is like Gen AI will have a huge impact in our lives, like and it is all already happening. So next, let's talk about Gen AI in education. So I kind of found these points are like the key points. And so unleashing enormous applications and advancements. So where can we use generative AI in education? So first one is identify the desired outcomes, like what type of outcomes we can get by using generative AI. So it could be like different ways of teaching, or like optimizing your day-to-day task, those kind of things. And also like then the next part is determining the appropriate level of automation. So this is a huge thing, like the thing is like, as a person who is coming from a formal education, we used to buy hard stuff, and we used to kind of do our own math, we used to read, and we used to search for information. I don't know, there might be some psychological impact on our knowledge with those kind of things. So philosophically speaking, there's not much research being done on the effect of using Gen AI in education. So it's like an open question. So then are we ready for this? Like imagine like kids who will be doing school in who will be doing their school in like within next 5 years. They have to grow up with this, so their approach to education will be completely different. So we don't know um, how much of automation is the correct level. There should be a balance. So that's a big thing. Then a big thing is like the ethical considerations, like, so that's a broad area, like, so some people could say this could be used to kind of like generate false information. So with social media we already had such a sort of an era. You might have heard of this thing called Cambridge Analytica. It was used with the uh, Facebook data to kind of change these elections, like people's opinions, those kind of stuff. So what happened at that time was no one knew what is social media at that time. No one knew like how important this data was, and suddenly they used it. But now but I do see a positive side when it comes to Gen AI. Now people don't want to do the same mistake they actually did with social media. Gen AI, now people are talking about ethical consideration, but it is still an open question. Like, main thing is like, if you ask from these creators of these models, like, do you guys know like what are the capabilities of these models? Still they don't know, because there are some public benchmarks, like research benchmarks, for us to like check how good these stuff are. But uh, the possibilities are enormous. We can't cover everything, because again, these models have seen enormous amount of data. That's the thing. So entire knowledge is in there, inside these models, and you can do anything with them, and the final part is evaluate the effectiveness. So this is also a big problem. How I think is like education is kind of a reinforcing thing, like it's, you might not able to get immediate rewards, right? So it might take some time to kind of understand like what are the real effects. So, and also education is a long term thing. So yeah, like these are like kind of open questions, and I actually don't have that kind of a knowledge to talk much about this stuff. But this is like these four things I kind of found pretty interesting to kind of talk about. Yeah, so that's how I think like that these are like the main pillars for me when it comes to AI in education. So and it is already happening, like if we think like, are we in the new era of education? For me, yes, because like the first example here, this is called ACL, Association of Computation Linguistics. So this is like the premier like kind of a research body for natural language processing. So now they officially allow us to kind of write papers with ChatGPT. Like, it's okay. They're like, okay, you can write this stuff, and you can do anything, but make sure there are some guidelines you need to follow. So it's more like better education. So this is for grad students. Like so because like we can think like they might not cheat or something, but also like other misinformation. They might write different stuff in a paper, because these are like peer reviewed papers. So things can get really wrong if you don't have guidelines. So these bodies, like, they're like, okay, now you can use ChatGPT or any AI assistant, but make sure to follow certain guidelines. And the next one is from Harvard. Like, so this is a big thing when premier educational institutes are like, okay, to use this stuff. Like Harvard's new computer science teacher is a chatbot. So this is not like, you don't need a professor to teach your computer science class, but it's more like how a professor should teach students with some sort of a chatbot that can generate codes given a prompt. Given prompt means some sort of an input. You tell the problem, and then you kind of can get a code output. So yeah, like then the last part is like this is already a commercial application. So actually I don't have access. It's like $20 per month. We call it like ChatGPT Plus. So if you have ChatGPT Plus, you can kind of enable this thing called code interpreter. So the idea is like literally this does a task of a junior data scientist. Like you can upload a CSV, and then you can say show the distribution of displacement. So then it can even generate that plot for you. So you don't need that you don't need to spend time at all. And then yeah, like even things like show how this distribution changes over time. So the key idea of this part is like these models are like not just parroting words. They can kind of understand the context, because otherwise you can't generate this kind of a plot, right? So you need to understand the data, you need to do certain pre-processing to get this result. And this is also relevant to my field, you know, like in my now, like if someone asks, do you need to hire a junior data scientist or a junior machine learning engineer, we would think twice, because end of the day we also need to report about the cost versus performances. So if we can do this kind of stuff by ourselves, like we don't need a junior person. But of course it can have long-term problems, like we need to train employees and all. But my point is like in near future, like all these companies, even in academia, like we might need people with different set of skills, because some skills will get redundant pretty soon because of these kind of models. They are really powerful. So that's like the pretty much like the core things I wanted to talk, because I actually wanted to show some hands-on experiences as well. But sorry. Yeah, but before going into that, I need to talk about one more concept called hallucinations. So I think this is really important. This is a really important concept, because if like my point is, to use GenAI you don't need to understand the entire math or anything. But unlike other technologies, you need to have some sort of a sense how these models would work. Otherwise it could create a lot of problems in the long run. So the main problem right now we have in the world is hallucinations. Like I'll explain what is hallucinations in these models. So the formal definition is, hallucinations in language models refer to the generation of false or fictional information that does not exist in the training data or in reality. So this is kind of scary, you know, like because in my opinion, I think like, I mean, talking about the technology, like how we, what type of methods we use to train these models, this is like a hard thing to get rid of, because hallucination has something to do with creativity. Like when we talk about human brain, we can tell anything, right? Like with our language we can kind of come up with a lie, you know, like it's very common for us in Sri Lanka. So we always listen to stories and all from these uh, bigger bodies, right? But the thing is, usually ethical people won't do it, because we have ethics. We don't lie. We don't like to say something, say some sort of a you know, like a lie, or say some factually incorrect stuff, because we have ethics. We don't want to do it. But then these models, they don't have something like that, right? Like, I mean, there are methods to reduce it, but I don't believe in fully reducing this stuff, because this is like an open research area. So why this is important for us in education is like, because if you think like, oh, I'm not going to Google from today onwards, I will rely on ChatGPT, sometimes it will generate information that seems really like, you know, really true. Like for example, this one. So if you ask a question, when did France gift Lithuania Vilnius TV tower? So it's not a gift from France. So but when you ask this kind of a problem, so ChatGPT kind of generate the French government provided the gift as a gesture of friendship and solidarity with the Lithuanian people. So this is like completely made up thing. But the thing is, like, if you don't know, like if you are not aware of this stuff, this could create a huge problem, right? So it's same when we are trying to read a research paper, when we are trying to summarize a research paper with this, or when we are trying to interpret an equation or something. So this is the main thing we actually need to educate students as well, like use it, but you need to also aware of this kind of stuff, like and also like even in industry, like companies, we now we have a guideline how to use ChatGPT, especially when it comes to modifying your code bases and all. So make sure like you test them properly, like those kind of stuff. um so yeah, that's pretty much the basics things I wanted to cover, but now I can kind of show some examples. Is that okay if I change my screen?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you can always ask questions after the presentation. Just drop it into the chat or just ask. It's all right. So I'll start with this. So can you see my screen, like
Yes.
stable?
Yes.
Yes. So this is like an open source tool to generate images, because we always talk about text. Because why text? Because text is so reliable when it comes to data, and also we can use text each and every day. But there are other generative models as well, like stable diffusion. This is like a model that can convert text to images, so this is like this model. This is a model that is on a cloud, like, but it is like we can use it, anyone can use this actually. So you don't need to pay or anything. So imagine we can so here, like, we can say like so this is like a prompt, computer programmer eating pizza. And you can also add a negative prompt, like what you don't want to be in this image. Let's say man with uh, glasses, because there's a stereotypical thing, right? If you're a programmer, you need to wear your glasses and all like that. So then all I need to do is just like um, like press the generate image thingy. So we just need to wait. So yeah, still you can see like this image, it just generated. So here you can see a person trying to eat pizza, and then there's a laptop kind of a thing in the background that kind of gives the idea. But you can see still there's a negative example, like still this is like with glasses. But if I remove this negative thing means like what not to include, you can see like now this might generate a lot of images with glasses. Because that's another important thing you need to understand, because like these models can have this data set bias. Like these models being trained with the data in the internet, so no one can filter such amount of big data. So in the internet mostly, like these kind of things are normal, right? How we see in movies and all, how we see a programmer is more with glasses and all. So yeah, so it can generate this stuff, so this is for art actually. But this is a free tool, but there are like other tools that are way better than this. Like if you can just google computer general Generated. There are like bunch of like I mean I can't even imagine like these are like oh it's CGI. So even this kind of stuff it can generate. So this is literally you give some sort of a text prompt as I did, and there are these tools like maybe you need to pay for this stuff, but yeah, like that's the whole idea is like that you can create something with text, like image to text. So yeah, then we kind of can check some chat gpt stuff like how I would use chat gpt. So is it like too small my
Yeah, we can change this to
sorry, you can see right?
make it larger. One more step.
Okay.
But all right, okay.
Okay, so now I will show you like how I would use like this thing, So this is ChatGPT. This is so I'm using the free thing, so you can just you can just yeah get I mean log into this with your Google account or anything. But so if you go to ChatGPT Pro, that's where that code analyze the code interpreter and all these services are. So it's just like in it's USD 20 New Zealand. It's I would say $35 or something. So yeah, like imagine like this is like so I'm asking this like a basic thing in machine learning. Write a simple PyTorch sentiment classification with the Hugging Face transformers. These are like libraries, just don't think much. So I just need to type this. So I actually use this kind of this kind of generated codes a lot. So literally it generates everything, like so like the entire code base, so you can copy it. And then I'm not saying you would like blindly use it for your code base, but what you can do is this is easy. Right now you have your code base, it's pretty much using an open source model. You can copy this and then you can debug this. So this does a pretty good job. Actually I checked this code before, and you can write it without doing any modification. So that's the level, like so again, like in future I don't know like how would programmers like come and use this tool and try to coexist with this. So that's like one thing. Like so everything is kind of pretty prompt, pretty nice code and all. And even like so I can show you something like so this is so the next prompt is like this. In order so apply a temperature value to softmax loss function. So this task, I don't think any person without a proper knowledge in deep neural networks or this kind of machine learning would do this, because this for this task you need a proper knowledge. So apply a temperature value to the softmax loss function in the above code, and all I need to do is like so it gives some sort of an like introduction as well, like what does this temperature value do, and how you would use it, how you would change it. So you can see like it just it just yeah it just changed the it just changed the temperature with like. So this is like the most efficient way to add this temperature thing. So it's just amazing, like even if I try to do this from the scratch, I might have like use some sort of a open source code from GitHub and try to like do it, but it somehow like not only giving the correct answer, but also like the most efficient implementation, like without adding much code. And also, yeah, just like just one or two lines. So that's one thing. Then I actually want to also show you a thing like um, show you a thing where it would fail, like. So again, like that's why I don't advise to use this to kind of like understand core theory or something. Sometimes it can change the perception side. So here I'm saying generate a contrastive loss function in batch negatives using PyTorch. So this is like a specific loss function, and you need some kind of mm, underlying knowledge to kind of write this sort of a code. So um, so like so it even like so this one, for some reason, this looks really nice, and this looks really good. But this is a very bad implementation. Like if you use this function in your code, it won't give you the desired results. And also, this is you can't do much with this. But maybe like if you say generate a like you can always modify these prompts as well. Tell us function in PyTorch similar to the clip algorithm. So now I'm asking the model to generate the same function similar to another algorithm called clip. So now this is really good. Uh, so now this is the correct way, because clip is a research paper, and they introduced this new a new algorithm. Like because the core idea is contrastive learning is like a big concept. And then if you just say contrastive learning, it would like use some sort of a different implementation. But with this, just with this one word, it changed a lot. Like that's the amazing capability. But again, this is the thing, like you still need to kind of look into this closely, and also need to like understand what sort of prompts you can use. So for me, it happened all the time. Like since I started using this around last November. So with the time, I kind of now know, like, okay, maybe use this kind of prompts and this kind of stuff, then only I get the better results. And yeah. And so last, I actually want to show another example that where you can mm, use an image as well. Like this is pretty nice actually. So this is Google Bart. So this is also pretty this is also like pretty open source, and also free of charge. You can easily use this. And in this model, you can even input an image. Even ChatGPT you can, but for that plugin you need to pay. Like we call it GPT-4, but here it's free. So what I'm going to do is, like, I'm going to I actually had a screenshot of it from a paper. Yeah. So yeah, don't worry. I'll show you what I'm going to input. So I've been reading this paper, and so now what I did was I took a screenshot of this part. Right, I took a screenshot of this part. So this is literally an image. So I just took a screenshot of this part, and then what I did was I uploaded that to here, right? And then I'm like So then I want to ask like, so now I need to add a prompt. So my prompt is explain to me about the equation in the following image. So now it can process both the image information as well as the text. So yeah, it might take some time. Yeah, so the equation in the image is a definition of an absolute position embeddings, an absolute blah blah blah. So this is correct, like, so why this is important as well. Imagine like in other fields like medicine and like yeah, like those kind of science fields, like you need a lot of factual information, there are a lot of documents and all, and yeah, we can kind of use it. Even now I can have my conversation, I can say give me the latex code for the above equation. So I want, now let's say I want to write a paper and I just want to somehow, I know this equation, I want to generate this in latex. So I just need to copy this. I mean, this can save a lot of time for graduate students when it comes to paper writing. So sad that this wasn't there at that time. But yeah, like that's the power. Not even just like this. So I also had a paper from PubMed, just like this paper. So I just like we can have this part. This, I just copy the text. You can either use ChatGPT or Bard. Let's use ChatGPT. It's easy. So what I'm gonna say is extract the results in following text in point form. So I need results, especially the numbers. So like it gives, like it does a good job, only approximately 10% of compounds drugs that enter phase 1 clinical trials are ultimately approved. So this is more like, we call this area as information retrieval. I would say this is like the biggest, this will be the biggest thing when it comes to application of generative AI, especially for these digital domains, because we have enough data now in the world, like we have collected those things over the years, so it's all about using them. So information retrieval would be pretty yeah, it would be pretty useful for everyone. So yeah, so even for the education and all. I think like those are my examples, and I think my time, I think I ran over the time limit as well, right? Sorry about that. But yeah, like you guys can ask if you have any questions or anything about the presentation.
Questions, comments. So the thing is, we don't have a mic, so we had to come here and talk. This is can you hear what Madam is saying, or do you know? Maybe if you don't mind, if you can come. Okay, repeat. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much for giving on. This is actually the first time I'm hearing about
so sorry, I don't think I can hear like from that far.
We don't have. We had to come here, so if you don't mind.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's really
Shamane, can you see me or not? No.
Yes, I can see you and hear you properly. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that informative presentation. Actually, this is the first presentation I'm hearing of this kind. And since we are in education, it was a bit mind-boggling as to where we can use AI. And one of the first questions that came to my mind is that, does this mean that our study programs should have to now amend their learning outcomes? Because from what I hear, ChatGPT can help even in the higher order, outcomes in the cognitive domain. Limiting to the cognitive domain because much of what you told actually apply only to that domain at the moment, right? Because if you're psychomotor, I am not very sure where AI would take us. And in my mind, I think one of the edges the humans are going to have even in the future is where the emotions would play a bigger role in a personality where AI cannot actually replace. Am I okay?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So now, in our cognitive domain, the higher order outcomes are either in application or in synthesis or in analysis or in evaluation. But from what you said, all those actually could be assisted by ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. I also have worked with emotional recognition quite a bit with language models. But as far as that's the main thing I would say, draw a line between human intelligence versus ChatGPT. So I like ChatGPT can definitely generate stuff in a with sentiments, I would say, but I think we are a bit far away from generating more human like cognition with this stuff, because we call what you just said as general artificial intelligence. So over the years we thought like general artificial intelligence should consist of several subcategories, like as you mentioned, emotional intelligence, then logics and all. But for some reason now the entire world is moving towards these big large models. So what we just do is we just feed some bunch of data and ask these models to figure out their own set of rules. So um, I think like still when it comes to emotions and psychological aspect, these language models are not that good. That would be my short answer for that.
Anyone else?
Can you hear me? I'm Rohit.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm from field of food science.
Hmm.
So just I want to get the information and how to clarify this. So we are using ChatGPT, and very recently and several times I'm trying to get the reference of to the ChatGPT. Right? I got some references regarding particular research, but 90% of them are wrong. Then I cross-checked, there was no such thing there. They give nice reference, but references are not compatible. When I go to that particular journal, there was no such thing. Right? Yeah, that is, I don't know. Then I told to write my name, Rohita Prasad, please give me a Rohita Prasad's publication. Right? Then I got 200, 300,000 publications, but including computer modeling and so on. I never have done that. I'm not in that field at least. Right? I don't know. That I don't know how this happened. But when give the ORCID number also, right? That give the number. Still, I think how now if the student write those things, because I'm new to this, because we are not in the computer generated. If the student came up with this kind of thing in future, right? How we can check them whether they have used ChatGPT? Because I know some of the journals they have, when they send a review to review, they said that this is, for example, Elsevier, they mentioned especially, please mention that if you are using ChatGPT or any AI system, and they check and they send us, they correct us for that. But I'm asking in future, student will of course use these things, right? And university academics, so we have a special way to check all these things. Do we have a method to check, cross-refer these things? Because it's very nice reference in the ChatGPT. But then we have a big question because we don't know much about computer sciences. Do you have
Yeah, that is very good point. Like for me, first rule is never check for references in ChatGPT. Even when it comes to our computer functions and all, it can generate gibberish stuff. So there's a huge problem with this. This is why part of the world is really scared of this Gen AI era, because now you have tools like GPT-0, like it's more like another AI model that would detect these stuff are from ChatGPT or not. But again, you also made a point, like no point of having those kind of things. We can't say students not to use this, right? Because it's like the future. So then the problem is, what if this generated stuff would have a lot of misinformation? So that's the thing, like we don't have a way to control. That's why we call this stuff as generative AI. There's the concept of controllable generation is not there. And I don't think where this technology works, I don't think with my knowledge we will have such controllable generations, or like people would even put a lot of, I mean, they will put effort on reducing this, but definitely not. We can't just make sure ChatGPT will always generate factually consistent stuff. So right now, as far as I know, like you can't check this, because it's more like checking, let's say we ask student to write something and student can still come up with some misinformation, right? So you have to put some time and effort on that article or whatever, and then go through it and try to understand, oh my god, this is not true. So that's the major part, like I would say for now it's more like responsible use. And then it's more like educating also, how students use this. Like, okay, don't use this to come up with references. Like for example, imagine I showed that ACL guideline thing. So I didn't show the entire page. In that page they say don't cross-check references from ChatGPT, because if you ask for a reference, it can generate easily some sort of a DOI, So that's an open question. And for now, I would say it's more like the responsible use, and we should try to educate students when to use this and when not to. Yeah.
Here, any other?
I think also we have control that way that is very, anyway, we can explain. If you are going to have a TUR for this in future, the student response, that is very important, because student came up with something that includes the thesis of reference, and the supervisor has to go through all these things. So it's a very big question. So we need guidelines to do that.
But the problem is we also can discuss it further. We will be discussing it. I think the point is, like Shamane was saying, student can unethically put things that is not nowhere but knowing, right? Knowingly put. But here that he is going to go and ask a machine, and maybe he will assume some of them are right. He or she might assume some of them are right while they are wrong. That part we had to educate. But after knowing it, if they put it, what do we do, right? So these are going to always do it. So that maybe they have an easy way of doing it now. Like so we can ask a machine and put all the lies instead of they coming up with these lies, which is going to take longer. So that problem, the educating part, educating them that not everything, like things like if you look for references, they can just generate references. So we can just generative AI and it generate text. It can generate, put different references together. That is how it's actually doing, right? So what's happening, even the information that it's generating, it's taking things from different places and putting them together, right? So think about what happens for references. So it will find your name, my article, and put them together, right? So that's how it's going to do. So that those sort of places we had to be careful.
And you might use it. But now, in the future, this type of students of visualizing and learning, sometimes or something.
Yeah, it is in fact, it's not that difficult, right? In fact, like even now there are tools. Yeah. So it's possible to verify. So things like references very easy to verify, right? So we can build another tool that works on top of something like ChatGPT that will, when that is putting things out, we also check. We go and verify. There are tools to do that. Yeah.
No, that's the question. Now the problem is that you can hear us. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I mean, not that clear though.
But yeah. So anyway, in future, you may not be able to control the.
Yeah. Not future, now. Or the past. Yeah.
So there is a cost.
Cross-checking, like he was talking about, there are tools already that if you put the text in, it will say whether it's generated from a generative AI. Those tools are there. I mean, they are as good as the one program is generating them. So they can also be wrong, right? So the one that are saying this, the one that are checking, because the one we are going to use to generate are also not flawless. No? So therefore the one that are checking are also the similar, right? So they are similar. So they are also going to be. He is not working for a university anyway, but he's not working for a university. He finished, he's like in the industry, he's in the industry. Yeah. But then the universities you saw, right? So the Harvard example, so in fact, like that's in the news last month. So they put, and also there are other things like Khan Academy, which is very popular for online things. They have put generative AI into the tutoring. But then there we are doing a lot more. Like what happens is you can't just let the generative, this big language model to spit out anything it wants, but you have to have a way of checking, right? So that checking has to happen in between. So that is what's happening in other, like, even in Harvard, that's what they are doing. So they don't just let anybody to be speak. Oh. Yeah, that is good, like personal life. That's good for us. Challenge. Yeah.
Different side that's something, so you have side to it.
Yeah. Tools are there.
But if you use
that is what we talk about. There are these tools for checking whether they are generated by them. Zero. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, generative model. Yeah. So in fact, Elsevier and all, now they have put ChatGPT as an eligible author. There are papers where one of the authors is ChatGPT. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We also have. So shall we? Are there any more questions? Okay, then so let's let him go, and then we can continue discussing. Thank you for joining.
Okay, thanks a lot for the invitation, and yeah, and I also highly appreciate this sort of initiatives. It's really timely and all. Yeah, and see you guys again. Bye bye.